So about 5 days ago, I was streaming unseeded Cadence score attempts, and someone mentioned that I should be looking for seeds to do seeded Cadence score so that I could try to show what's actually possible on a Cadence score run. And we found this seed pretty immediately, and it seemed really promising, so I decided I would optimize it. The beginning is nothing really special. Low percent Cadence play is mostly just try to kill the enemies with the fewest gold drops when your multiplier isn't full, and then once your multiplier is full, kill anything and everything. You have to full clear every floor, basically. So the important ways to get gold in score running are from enemies, which will drop their base gold times your multiplier, and you add 1 to the base gold if you're wearing a gold weapon, if you have a gold weapon, and add 1 to the total if you have a gold ring. So gold weapons and gold rings will increase the score total. And then the Crown of Greed, which you can get from killing a shopkeeper, will increase the gold that you pick up by a factor of 2, but every beat you will lose 1 gold from Greed Drain. So there's a very different approach once you have the Crown of Greed equipped, and in this run I'll take it in 1-3, but for the first 2 floors I'm just trying to make sure I don't kill without max multiplier unless I have to, and I try to get a gold weapon as soon as I can. Because I've played this seed by this point probably a dozen times, I know exactly where the blood shop is, I know where the gold is. I saw that wall gold that was behind the shop wall in the top left corner. It's not reachable without a bomb, so I figure I'll spend the bomb there to get that gold and the 50 gold out of the shop corner. So the enemies are only some of the gold that you can get. A lot of the other gold that you can get from a score run is from the shops. So you want to be able to dig the shop walls or bomb them out. And I'm going to use numbers here for if you have the Crown of Greed equipped, but it's going to be worth 100 gold to spend a bomb in the shop corner, and it's going to be worth 80 gold to use a blood shovel or a blood drum with a big dig to be able to get the shop corners, 60 gold if you're digging a shop edge. Now, Bomb Charm would also make the bombs a lot more valuable. You can get up to 180 gold out of a single bomb if you have Bomb Charm, but I know that this run doesn't have Bomb Charm, so I'm going to simply spend bombs in shop corners when I have the opportunity. And other important things for conventional Cadence score meta are shrines. You'll see on this run that in 1-2, this level, I will get a War Shrine. And War Shrine is one of the most important shrines for Cadence score because it adds, it makes all of the enemies their highest tier, and the highest tier also equates to the highest gold. So after I take the War Shrine, every level will generate its black skeletons, no green or no white, and it'll generate the red bats, and it's going to generate, basically everything will be as hard as it can be, even the bosses. So the bosses are going to be upgraded to their X5 level, so Deep Blues will have all red pieces, and so on. And this will give you more gold. You'll get more gold from killing these enemies, but it'll make the game substantially harder. Boss Shrine is the other one that you want to activate. It'll make there be too many bosses on each level, which can give you that extra gold pile, and it will also activated, it'll drop a Strength Charm, and the Strength Charm will help you tear through the level a little more quickly. At the beginning, it's not too important how long it takes you to clear each level, but eventually once you have the Crown of Greed, the extra time you will take clearing the level if you have lower damage will cost you a lot of gold. So as you saw right there, there's another way to get the shop gold, and that's to use a high tier dig enemy to dig out the walls for you. In this case there was a dragon on the level, so I bothered to lure it up and get a little bit extra gold from that. So there you see activated the War Shrine. When you activate the War Shrine, it doesn't do very much for you. It gives you a Scroll of Gigantism and a headpiece. And because I had used the dragon to dig open the pawnbroker, I just go ahead and sell the headpiece right away because I'm going to be getting a Crown of Greed later. I could sell my armor, but I don't want to, because I know I'm going to possibly make mistakes. So while you are gigantic, you are not slowed down by the tar, and any digs that you do are big. So I'm using the blood drum and my regular shovel, but with Gigantism to be able to dig out the corners of the pawnbroker. It's also extremely useful that I have an Infernal Torch. I can deal 8 damage in a single fireball once I dig a wall that has a torch on it, and that's how I was able to kill the pawnbroker without needing to spend a bomb and without needing to spend any health besides the dig I was already doing. You see that I pushed a crate down the trapdoor in the last level. That had an apple in it, so I knew I could spend 1 heart of health without running low on health. And now you see all of the skeletons are black. So we're already into the difficult part of the run. But I don't have the Crown of Greed yet, so far it hasn't really mattered how efficiently I play. I just try to make sure I don't run out of time in the song. I have the Big Dig available to me, which will help me dig out shop walls later, but I don't pick it up just yet, because if I were to open this bat cave with Big Dig, there would be 3 bats all able to attack me very soon, and I would almost certainly miss a beat or get hit. I'm not very consistent at fighting bat caves on a harp, so I wanted to make sure I had the best opportunity to get them into a choke point, so I waited to dig out until I had the... or I didn't dig it out with the big shovel, I went and made sure I had the regular shovel when I dug it out. Alright, and here's the 1-3 shop. Here's where we finally get the Crown of Greed. I'm going to make use of the Infernal Torch once again to kill the shopkeeper as a byproduct of digging one of these walls. Since the Infernal Torch deals 8 damage, and I have a 2 damage harp at this point, I can finish him off with a single hit after the fireball aggroes him, so I don't have to worry about spending bombs, I don't have to worry about spending health that I wouldn't otherwise be spending digging. So now, because I have the Crown of Greed, it's very worth my efforts to dig out shop walls. You'll also notice that I took the cursed heart when I had half of a regular red heart, and then I ate the chicken, which caused me to heal 2.5 hearts and then uncurse the heart using the final half a heart of healing. That helps me have more red hearts, which later on will help me get more value out of my potion. Here's the boss shrine. So I have in zone 1 a boss shrine and a war shrine active, so that already makes this a very promising seed for Cadence score. You'll notice also that when I bombed the boss shrine to get the strength charm, I ducked out of the room and then came back in as the bomb was exploding. It's just a neat little quirk of turn priority that the game had the bomb go off and then me use the trap that sends me into the Shriner, and so I was not in the Shriner when the bomb went off, even though it was on that very beat. Alright, at this point I have a 3 damage harp. I just want to make sure I kill the rest of the floor as efficiently as possible. I did dig out the corners of the Shriner. It would be possible for me to also dig out the edges, but at this point I feel like my health is not worth only 60 gold at a half a heart. I wanted to get 80 gold out of each half heart I spent. First boss is Death Metal. I have Earth Spell, so I find a way to get him pinned up against the ghost and I just squish him for 9 damage. Well, 999, but he has 9 hearts. And I go to the red chest and I get my Ice Spirit Familiar. So in a score run, because your health and your bombs are each worth quite a bit of gold, you want to have a way to get a lot of health. And if possible, a lot of bombs, but that's kind of up to the seed. So I'm just going around and I'm making sure that the area around this Pain Shrine is clear, because what I want to do next is get a Ring of Courage. The Pain Shrine will activate if you are hit 5 times near it, or if you take 1 hit near it for over 2 hearts. I had previously been using a route where I just took a 2-heart hit because that was less health spent overall. But then I was talking to Hoku Hoku Reiha, one of the Japanese score runners, and they were also attempting this seed and said that if you activate it with a wall mimic or another low damage enemy, it gives you a gold rapier. And a rapier is so much easier and faster to use than a harp, so I decided it would be worth that half of a heart taking 5 hits instead of 1 2-heart hit to be able to have a rapier for the rest of the run. The backpack is helpful as well, because the backpack lets me carry around some food with the blood drum so I don't have to eat the food on the floor I find it. So you'll notice also that when I took damage next to the Pain Shrine, it dropped my multiplier. I wanted to kill low gold dropping enemies before I killed the high drop enemies, so I went and I killed those mushrooms that don't drop any gold at all. That helped me get my multiplier back up without spending too much, without losing too much gold for it. You might notice I also bombed that Risk Charm. I do take a Cursed Potion in the later part of the run, which does change my damage, and I want to be sure how much damage I'm doing at any given point, and it has to be less than 2. It has to be less than 3 at some future point in the run, and so having the Risk Charm would make it very hard to guarantee my correct damage. I figure it wasn't doing me any good to have the Risk Charm, and I don't particularly plan to make use of it, so I just bombed it along with the Shrine to get the courage. So here I have Gold Rapier Courage, which is a very fun build to play. Courage will thrust you right onto the gold no matter which of the two tiles the rapier is attacking. So once you have Couraged, you have an infinite damage hit for the next beat because of the fact that you just have gold under you and a gold weapon. So Gold Rapier Courage is a way to set up some really fast combos that are efficient for clearing the rest of the floor. But also, because it's Ring of Courage, I can set up the dupe exploit that I've been using for Bard Score. It's just much harder with Cadence because you don't get to do the many thousand beat floors that I would do on my Bard Score runs. Yeah, the main reason that I was attempting Cadence Unseated Score 5 days ago was to try to see how viable I could get a Courage run to be for world record level attempts. And in Bard, when I run Courage, I have numerous floors that take over 1,000 beats to complete. Cadence gets only about 250 beats per level, so that's not going to be possible, and I need to have a very efficient setup to be able to milk anything out of the Courage. So we saw the first ham of the run in that urn that helped me get my health back up to full. It's kind of nice that this run has a rather consistent source of health. In the early levels, there's ham all over the place, and then later on there's a shopkeeper familiar. So I can keep digging out almost all the shop walls, either digging or bombing. I made a bit of a mistake at the beginning of this run, and my first motion put the clone right down the trapdoor, which cost me its gold, but that's okay. So for what the Courage exploit is, when you are attacking an enemy that is on a pile of gold with Ring of Courage, you will Courage onto the gold and grab that gold before the game calculates how much gold is on that pile. So you will get whatever was already there, and then the game will calculate how much gold to put on that tile based on the sum of what used to be there and the enemy you killed. Which means you add gold to the level that wasn't there in the first place. A good example is right here. That's a 25 gold pile, which is going to be 50 if I collect it with the crown. I get 50 gold just for Couraging onto that pile, and then it decides, because I killed an enemy that drops 24 gold on top of a 50 gold pile, I get 74 gold after the 50 I already had gotten, which means I got the 50 twice. That's why I call it dupe. It's duplicating one pile of gold from the floor. Here's another wall that I cannot open with my shovel, but I get to use the dragon. And this is the food shop, so this is where I'm going to end up with 10 full heart containers. However, notice that my items are set to Control and A. Control is primary item and A is secondary item. And because of the way I did this, it's a bit of a mistake. Now my blood drum is set to the secondary item at A. It'll show up later when I try to get a need scroll that this is a mistake, but it's not that costly of a mistake. It costs me probably on the order of 300 gold. But with all of this health available, I can now freely spend 60 gold, or I can freely spend half a heart for 60 gold. So I'm going to dig out almost all of this shop. I leave one tile that I couldn't dig without spending another half heart, and that wouldn't be as worth it. But because I have such a big health reserve now, I'm not saving up for gluttony, I can spend the health that way. And here you see Gold Rapier Courage just making such clean work of that exit room. Everything dies. And here I have 7,000 gold starting with second boss, which is a very good pace. This is, even without the fact that I'm going to break the game later with Courage, this is a really strong conventional meta Cadence score run. And I'm skipping the boss gold because there's a shopkeeper familiar. I can just go and get the heal from that gold later. It takes a few extra beats to go there and back and there again, but it's worth the half heart, I think. So now that I have the shopkeeper familiar, anytime that there's a pile on the floor of more than 25, which would be more than 50 once I pick it up, you can tell if there are more than that because of the sprite change. It'll be a pile instead of individual coins on the ground. That pile will heal me if the shopkeeper familiar picks it up. Alright, setting up another just casual dupe, trying to get any of the gold that I can twice. There's another instance. Those add up, but they're not going to be the immense difference between running something like Ring of Gold and Ring of Courage. I think the best ring to be running in a regular Cadence score run is probably still Ring of Gold. Ring of Gold will add the gold from each enemy, and it'll also allow you to pick up gold without walking to it, which can be very fast. Especially when you're digging up the shops, if you just plant a bomb charm bomb, you would have to then spend about 12 beats to go and pick up all those gold tiles. With a ring of gold, it's instant. So there's another red bat closet. These things are the scariest part of the run, I'd say. Although Zone 3 in general with courage is pretty scary, because as soon as you're in an ice level and you courage into an enemy that drops ice when killed, like one of these yetis, you slide. And right there I just dropped the multiplier because I realized, oh crap, what am I doing? I'm sliding in front of the Minotaur, what if I get hit? And I didn't get hit, but I did lose the multiplier, so I have to make sure to farm it back up before I kill this high gold drop enemy, because otherwise I'm losing out on quite a bit. So I'm trying to kill the other enemies first, like those goblins, and now I kill the Minotaur so that I get its full gold. This is not the most efficiently played Zone 3, but it's sufficient. 3-2, there's another ham that I know is going to come up from a crate, so I am quite willing to spend most, if not all, of my health digging out this shop and the Conjurer. So even though Shopkeeper Familiar hasn't been keeping me as healthy as I'm spending it, the ham is going to help fill the rest. Here I get a dupe off of that shove monster, which just happens to be on top of the gold tile when I killed it, and another. So that's plus 40 just from being a little bit clever with courage. And there's that ham. And note that it went into the primary item slot. It's important when you're running a backpack to not press the wrong item. Knowing exactly where the item you just picked up is going to end up can help save you a lot of grief down the line. I upgraded my backpack right there to a pack of holding. To go pick up the gold, I just walk back through the backpack, but I do like the pack of holding more because it'll let me hold 2 or 3 items instead of just 2. The only problem is with a pack of holding, you can bury an item that you're interested in too deep to actually use, because you still only have access to 2 items at a time. So 3-2 is about the scariest level in this whole run, besides 5-1, which is scary for a different reason. But there's an entirely ice-covered boss room, and so I am actually impressed with how well I play it in this particular run. There have been ones before this where I just completely screw up 3-2, and I've died in 3-2. Here I'm trying to keep my health high, which is going to end up being a problem later. So that red chest has a cursed potion that I do want, but it would be ideal if the blood drum was primary item and cursed potion secondary. There's no way to change it at this time though, because way back when I was in the food shop, I picked up a second item and moved the blood drum to secondary, and I don't think there's a way to undo that. So I have to handle the fact that my blood drum is my secondary item, which means if I pick up another item, the blood drum is gone. Or at least gone until I've used one of the 2 items. The only enemies left on this floor are that goblin and the bat. I don't really want to run out of time, so I make sure I freeze the goblin, and fortunately the bat plays nice and I'm able to kill it, get the heal off of it, and get to the stairs before time runs out. But yeah, this icy boss room is one of the scariest parts of the run. Alright, here's the Risk Shrine. The Risk Shrine drops a Scroll of Need when activated, which you can use for a potion if you are at half a heart. It also gives you 2 apples, which I eat right away, making sure that my blood drum is still available. If I were to pick up that need scroll right now, my blood drum would be inaccessible, and using either the Cursed Potion or the need scroll at this point in the run would be pretty devastating. Cursed Potion would override a lot of my hearts with Cursed Hearts, and need scroll would not give me a potion, it would give me glass and ruin everything because the Crown of Greed would disappear. So I have to spend my health in order to pick up the need scroll, and then I want to use it immediately for a potion. Had I routed it differently, I would have the Cursed Potion get buried when I picked up Need, and it would be all totally fine, and I wouldn't have to spend any extra health. But because I dug out the full shop, I only have to lose 2 full hearts to be able to use the Need Scroll, and I have the Blood Drum, so losing health is not going to lose me my multiplier. So here, just hit the Blood Drum 4 times, use the Need Scroll, and now my Blood Drum is back as primary slot. Of course, I'm precariously low health now, but I have the Shopkeeper Familiar, and I know where to get the heals on this floor. That said, I don't do the best job because, again, Courage and Ice. Also, this teleport trap. I didn't lose health there, but it threw me off because I couldn't really see the teleport trap through the elemental and I'd forgotten that it was there. The game has some sprites that are far too tall for their own good. So there's another heal. Here are 2 bosses that I can get heals from, but I mess up and I take the Minotaur without getting heal from it. The blue dragon barreling down on me horizontally is no fun. I decide I'm going to just freeze it. And then I courage right through ice into a Yeti, and then I do it again. So all those heals that I went a little bit of effort to farm up, and I lose two half hearts right there just to being a little careless with courage and ice. So as well as I played 3-2, it didn't really matter because I had to spend the health anyway with my backpack situated the way it was, and then I played 3-3 rather poorly, so I'm back at half a heart here. Now, Shrine of Risk will not kill you outright. If you have half a heart, it won't take that half a heart, but any higher amount of health, and it'll cost you half a heart at the beginning of each floor. So starting a floor with 1 full heart at Shrine of Risk is kind of a sad situation because you're just as bad of a situation as if you had spent half a heart. But Zone 4 fortunately has quite a few enemies that you can get heals from, like this Goblin Bomber. If you kill it correctly, you'll get the Shopkeeper Gold heal. And then Golems have a 9 base gold drop. If you kill them at ×3 multiplier, that's 27, more than enough for a heal. So I'm doing this 4-1 a little bit carefully. I'm getting efficiency a little out the window so that I can make sure to get all the heals that I can, because I want to have my health very high going into Zone 5. Even though I have a potion with 10 hearts and then a cursed potion, so I have effectively 21 hearts right here, I want to have more. I want to make sure that in case of emergencies I have about as much health as I could spend. So getting the Goblin Bomber, getting the Golem, and I know this exit room has a sarcophagus, which is a lot of gold, plus 2 bosses, which are a lot of gold. So I get the sarcophagus first, and I make the mistake of digging while freeze runs off so I don't have courage immunity. But the Banshee will still give me a gold heal once I kill it, even if I only have X2. The Golem will not, so I can't finish off the Golem until I've gotten X3. But that bat helped me get X3, so I can kill everything and get heals. I have the option to dig out this shop, and I do 1 dig, but for the most part I'd rather use bombs at this point to make sure my health is high. So I don't get myself down to half a heart. I make sure that I have a little bit of buffer. Granted, that means I'm going to lose half a heart when the level starts and be at 1 heart, but I feel like 1 heart is better than half. Just because if I make 1 mistake, there goes my potion, and then I'm starting to lose health every level after that because I'm not going to hit half a heart without a potion. A confused Goblin Sentry has hit me quite a few times in this run. I'm glad that in this time it didn't. I was on the right parity to successfully kill it. I'm having a heck of a time with this Goblin Bomber. I want to kill it without bombing the Blade Master, but that plan ultimately fails. So I lose the gold from that Blade Master because it was killed by an enemy's bomb instead of any attack I did, but that's fine. So in the Arena Secret Shop, once you have killed all the enemies, it spawns a new set of gold walls at the bottom. So you can get 6 value digs out of an arena instead of just 4. So I got the 2 bottom corners, then the 2 top corners, and then the 2 new bottom corners. And here I'm at half a heart, so I'm using bombs instead of my health. And I still have quite a few bombs to spare, and I know there are bombs on this floor. So as far as conventional Cadence score is going, I have played this one kind of well. There's still those mistakes that I made with courage on the ice, but I'm making sure to keep my health relatively high, and I'm using it where I can to get rid of shop walls, and using bombs when I can't use health. And there, I accidentally used Big Dig to dig open the bat closet, and I hate red bats so much. But I get the heals off of both mini-bosses. I'd hoped that there was a sarcophagus still in the boss room, but as I find out later, the red dragon trampled it. So red dragons can deal damage to other enemies if they are active when the enemies around them are not. I freeze the red bats a little unnecessarily just because I don't want to accidentally take a hit from it while I have a heart. But yeah, that's me realizing there isn't a sarcophagus in the boss room to get my heal from because the dragon had trampled it. But there is that golem, and I know the wall gold is there, so I can get 2 more heals and then use that to finish off the shop. In terms of pace for score running, you can guarantee that at the end of the run you will get 3,600 gold from Dead Ringer and Necrodancer, provided you don't make mistakes there. Zone 5 is usually worth about 7,000 gold, if you count the bosses. So finishing Zone 4 with about 20,000 means that you're on pace for about a 27,000 gold run, which is very strong, but the current unseeded world record for Cadence score is 31,656. And I think the biggest difference between that run and this one up to this point is that they had a gold ring. Another red bat cave. I just freeze this one because I don't want to mess with it. Big Dig and bat caves is such a terrible combination. So what makes this run extra special is that I haven't yet gotten the Leprechaun, and I'm saving it for Zone 5 so that I can use Courage to get the Leprechaun pile multiple times. I'm finally feeling a little bit more comfortable with my health situation. I know that I can get a lot of heals from like this pixie and then from high gold enemies. I still take a hit from that black bat, but I kill it before I kill this so that I get the heal off of him too. And I know that there's a chicken in that barrel, which I'll grab once I have mostly finished the level. Go ahead and freeze these guys. I don't want to kill the black skeleton because the sarcophagus is worth more gold if you haven't killed any enemies from it yet. So I get that heal, and then the golem is still around for another heal, but I'm going to go ahead and finish digging out this shop. Digging and bombing. In hindsight, I probably should have spent the half of a heart to get that last wall for 60 gold. I end up having some health to spare at the end, but it's because I was kind of scared of dying. I've died after a perfect or near perfect 5-1 before, and I didn't want to repeat that. So there's another confused goblin, but it's okay. They're easier to kill when they're confused because they come to you. So King Konga, once I've killed King Konga, it's Zone 5 time, and Zone 5-1 is the highlight of this run, I would say. I usually try to keep track of my split going into King Konga and coming out of King Konga, and it's kind of funny at this point that I have 20,000 gold for exactly half a beat. I pick up the gold to get me to 20,000, and then greed brings me down, back to 19,999. So my goal in 5-1, avoid killing the skull that I get at the very beginning, and make sure the dragon follows me, but the metronome does not. It's okay for me to spend health here because there's so much that I have to do. I can go faster if I spend a little bit of health. But I'm also using Courage iframes to not take as much damage as I otherwise would from like a few fireballs that would have hit me, but I used Courage. So here's the dragon. I have it frozen in the right place, and I use Earth to kill it so that I don't land on the gold. That gold pile makes a leprechaun that I hit onto that bounce trap, and then the bounce trap, it will chase you 16 times, and then it'll disappear. Each time it chases, it drops 25 gold, so there's now 400 gold on that bounce trap. I play a little bit scared with this zombie because I don't want to Courage in such a way that I end up accidentally picking up that pile. And now we have a bounce trap in the corner with a lot of gold on it. I send one skeleton over towards that, but I accidentally hit the skeleton while I'm on the wire, so I can't send all three. My health is also a little precarious now, but I do have the potion, and I'm going to burn it pretty quickly. So now I have the metronome and another skull coming towards me. I kill the metronome, and then I want to break the skull and send its skeletons over to the bounce trap. I have to have all the skeletons decapitated with 1 hit point remaining and going towards the bounce trap. And if that costs me health to do so, so be it. Alright, here's another skull. Now that I have the earth set up the way I like it, I can actually just hide in the hole and get all 3 skeletons out very cleanly. So I'm going to do that with 3 more skulls. The 2 in this room and then the one that I had quarantined over on the left earlier. And make sure that they're all coming to me. The whole time the clock is ticking. This is a short-ish song. So I can't lose time unnecessarily. I want to make sure that I have time at the end. And you'll see that I use every last beat of this song effectively. I didn't bother to route out exactly what input I spend on what beats, so a lot of this is still impromptu, but here I am at the red bars with a huge line of skeletons all pointed at that bounce trap. And now is where I'm going to use the Ring of Courage exploit. If you attack late in the beat on a pile that has gold on a bounce trap and an enemy on that bounce trap, you pick up the pile and you leave a copy of the pile there. And here I do that 17 times. On the very last beat, I attack early in the beat so that I pick up the gold. So now, I have a blood shovel instead of the shovel of strength, so that it's a little harder to fight through these last floors with a little bit less damage, but I didn't save myself any time to go pick up that shovel of strength again, and blood shovel is still sufficient to dig out gold walls so I can get more gold out of it. Couraging onto mimics is always an adventure because you can't avoid picking up the item, but it's okay because it was an item that I could use, and I knew it was that. I knew it was an obsidian axe. So I spend some health here to dig out the shop, but I'm still scared because this is the first time I've made it to this level with enough health to probably finish the game cleanly. So you'll see that I make the choice not to dig out that transmute shop, even though it would have a lot of value dig in it. There's also the option to transmute my ring into something that might be a little bit more efficient, like gold, but I know the first transmute is not a good ring in first score. It's Ring of Peace, and I'm not willing to chance the second transmute. Some sort of things that I only noticed in hindsight is that I let a skeleton run away to the left or to the right there, and I never got it again, so that's a little bit of missed gold. I also didn't get the bat cave to the left in the early part of this level, but that's fine. Really, completing a run after that 5-1 is enough to guarantee that I'm satisfied. I had a goal here of getting 40k in a Cadence score run, and here I'm at 36k with still 2 floors and a boss. 2 floors and 2 bosses, that's what. Yeah, so in 5-3 I start to realize, well, there's not that much left to spend my health on. I should actually probably be digging more, especially because I'm going to be using Shopkeeper to build up my health even further. So I start to regret having not dug out everything in that 5-2, but it's okay. I get hit by that zombie. I don't want to courage onto that electric mage because that would put me onto the scatter trap, and courage does not protect you from scatter traps. You would still lose your entire build and have to go pick it all back up, which is slow. And there's a chance that, say, the shovel ends up in another room and you have to go on a really long adventure to go get it. So I know that there's not a secret shop on 5-3, so I don't have as many opportunities to spend health to dig. And I still am holding on to that cursed potion. So I have a lot more health than I need at this point, which is why I regret that 5-1 or 5-2. I even spend half a heart there to dig out a single wall just to sort of get through it a little more quickly. Accidentally bonking the orc onto the spike trap there was a mistake, but these are small mistakes. I had a very good 5-1, and so I'm very ready to finish this run and get the world record and not have to do the seed again. Because I've done this seed probably a dozen times. Generally just with making mistakes and 5-1 ending the run. I want to get courage through here, and there's a bug where if you courage through an electro orb with a rapier, it does not protect you, and I got hit by that. I got bit by a bug that I knew existed but didn't really plan out, which also cost me the heal from the Dragon Gold because it only dropped 20 because I killed it at 1. At this point, I want to make sure that I get a flawless on the final bosses, so I use one of the simplest Deadringer kills. If you can freeze him and then earth him twice, it costs you a little health, but he dies and you don't have a chance to accidentally go off the rails and get swarmed by a bunch of mini-bosses and spawns. Especially with War Shrine active, Deadringer can be a real pain. And because I have all this extra health, I take out the Necrodancer with Blood Digs. Allows me to get one hit off on him before he's even teleported and has a chance to attack. Makes the rest of the fight just that little bit much safer. Every skeleton that's going to spawn in this fight is a black skeleton because of War Shrine. So I want all the safety I can get. If I drop my multiplier in this fight, I would have to then kill 5 enemies to bring it back up, and that might take a while and cost me some gold. Fortunately, this is a perfect fight. I don't actually lose my multiplier at any point. But yeah, so of the 20 floors, 19 of them, or I guess it's 21 floors because there are 2 bosses. 20 of them are running conventional Cadence score meta, and then 5-1 is just this horrid mess of courage dupes that works out perfectly in the end. And that's how you set Cadence seeded score world record.